Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a movie review. This movie is a horror film from Malaysia, Malaysian language English subs, released in the year 2011, directed by James Lee, and this film is called Clay Pot Curry Killers. So the story of Clay Pot Curry Killers, you've got this family-run restaurant that is very successful. Everybody wants to come and try their homemade curry, and it also gets the attention of this local this local TV station. So the executives of this TV station want to do a TV show about this restaurant and the successes, and they also want to learn a little bit more about the recipe, the ingredients behind the recipe. But this is where their family secret lies, and this family secret is actually quite horrifying. And so the mother of this family says, no, we don't want to give anything away, but yes, you can do a TV show about us. But the executives, they want to know what this recipe is, so they're going to strive and to try and steal it. And they think that if they can steal the recipe, they can make their own curry and therefore become a successful restaurant of themselves. But this is going to land them in trouble, because the further they get to the recipe, the more they're going to know about this terrifying truth that is ultimately going to put them in grave danger. So what that danger is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Clay Pot Curry Killers. This is a very interesting film, and this is definitely a throwback to the good old-fashioned Cat 3 Hong Kong horror films, such as The Ebola Syndrome, Untold Story, all those movies that just hit you with sheer grubby nastiness, very dirty nastiness, and it pulls no punches and it doesn't make any apologies. So if you do like Hong Kong Cat 3 horror films, then chances are you're going to really appreciate where Clay Pot Curry Killers is actually coming from. So I do think it delivers on its nasty promise. I like the way that this movie tells its story. I like the way that this family is very close-knit. It's a very disturbed family, and I like the sinister sort of side that this movie has. It's not a movie that takes itself completely serious, but it does have that nastiness that really does elevate itself into the more extreme horror. So if you are an extreme horror fan, then chances are you're not going to appreciate this, because it is very brutal. It is very practical effects, which is something I always appreciate, especially coming from a low-budget horror film. There are no digital effects, so I really like the way that the brutality hits you very hard. It is very graphic. There are elements that do have a lot to the imagination, so you use the psychology while you're watching the film, but it does have a lot of graphic material in there to make it a Cat 3 horror film. So I really appreciated that. I like the fact that they were willing to push the boundaries, and although the movie is not ripping off any other films, it still feels like it's paying homage to films. You know, the vivid colouring of the cinematography is very reminiscent of South Korean cinema. Then you've got the nastiness that is, as I said, reminiscent to Untold Story, Ebola Syndrome, where not only is it hitting you with very graphic material, but the overall story is very disturbing as well. So also Dumplings and Meat Grinder, they're two films that really have strong similarities with Clay Pot Curry Killers. So while it is a movie of its own, it does feel like the director of this film was a fan of those just mentioned films. So I really like the way the movie ended. I thought it was a fantastic ending. I thought the pacing was very good. It never gets boring. But unfortunately for me, I think that this is a very inconsistent in its tone. It is all over the place. I thought some areas it wanted to be a comedy, other areas it wanted to be very serious, but you know, the acting wasn't serious enough to make it a very hard-hitting movie, and there were just some very flamboyant and over-the-top exaggerated characters that felt like they just didn't belong in the film. So there's a lot of conflicting sort of tonal differences that make the movie feel like it's actually a bit of a mess. Some of the torture sequences were very repetitive. It felt like a little bit of deja vu, so it felt like the director didn't really have the variety in there that really captures you in Cat 3 horror films. As I said, with Ebola Syndrome and the likes, you actually felt that there was enough variation in the shocking quality where you never really become desensitized to it. It feels like it's something you haven't seen before, and then the next scene is just as shocking as the last. But in this movie, there are shocking moments, but I think they tend to repeat that shocking moment to the point where you're becoming a little bit desensitized, and it's not as shocking as it was the first time you actually saw it. So I thought, as far as technical value, was very good, but as far as its story and where it really wanted to go, I thought that it was very messy, and it really needed to rein it in and have a lot more control. I really didn't like the executive producers from this TV show. I thought they were very much over the top, very irritating, and that just contradicted every other character. Every other character had a serious element to them. It felt like this story had a serious element to it, and there was a side story with this love interest that I thought really symbolised the tragedy behind one of these family members. But that is all contradicted by the over-the-top stupid movie executives, where you feel that these characters belonged in a completely different film, because it does derail all the serious tone that Claypot Curry Killers has. And I think that the title itself really symbolises what this film's all about, Claypot Curry Killers. It's not a movie that's going to really grab your attention as being a serious horror film, and you feel that this is going to be over-the-top silly, but it's neither over-the-top silly, and you can't really take it as seriously as James Lee, the director, wants you to, because there's that sort of conflicting tonal difference, and there's also a little bit of acting that is definitely a little bit dodgy. So there is an amateurish quality about the movie that does prevent it from being very good, but if you are a fan of Cat 3 cinema, then I would recommend it. But for me, I thought the movie, with a little bit more polish, a little bit more time and attention to the details, and a much more consistent tone, I thought it would have been a lot better. But having said that, there are movies that are out there that are a lot worse, and for that I would recommend it. So overall, for Claypot Curry Killers, I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. Not terrible, but then again, not great. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. So next, thank you for watching movies, and I'll see you later.